Chat, here we go. We got Daniel versus Loreley, this time on record and replay. We're going to be doing a Twitch premiere, so hopefully you're watching it right now in the Twitch premiere, and everything has gone well, and we have found at least a slight loophole to deal with our poor internet right now. But we got a good matchup. We got Daniel versus Loreley. Of course, this is the first time I've ever done it, so it did start off with a little bit scuffed. We were looking for a good US East server for Loreley because we're going to start the series on US East and go back and forth for this best of 5. And after we found the server, I was trying to, explain how we would just get going as soon as the server was good. But Loreley didn't realize that, and so we got like 2 minutes into a game, and then Loreley was like, wait, are we playing the game right now? I said, yeah, man, we are. But it was pretty obvious that he was not doing that. He wasn't challenging and wasn't playing very serious. So we waited out the time because we're not admins like Johnny Boy, as Daniel has a nice, a fake flip reset. A soft touch gets Loreley up in the air. But, so we sat and waited a few minutes instead of being able to restart the game. And now we are back in for game number 1. Daniel going to score first again. He also scored first in the warm-up game. But Loreley having to take on Daniel, finishing tied for 3rd in the EU Regional. Daniel, of course, having not lost a series yet. He did lose 1 game to Lion Blaze. So only a single game lost in the Feer Fest so far. But it is now time for him to take on the EU region. So we'll see if he can continue to hold on to this dominant grasp he's had all tournament long. Loreley has been looking really, really good lately. Loreley has had, not only some good tournament results here in Fear Fest, but I think he's been starting to show up in other tournaments as well, and prove to be one of the top players. I think I saw him announced in some recent Johnny Boy events. So it should be really exciting for Loreley in the upcoming future, but I'm sure he's not thinking about that right now. He wants to win and end the reign of Daniel right here, right now. Certainly would be a good mark for the EU guys if they were able to take down Daniel early. So far, Drawley took down Lion Blaze. So EU 1-0 in these crossover games. Nice power shot from Daniel. Daniel's been on offense the entirety of the beginning of this game. All first 2 minutes, I'm not sure you've really seen a Loreley shot attempt, and Daniel the flip reset and a tap in for a 3rd as he goes up 3-0. This is a nice shot. Loreley, there's no winning. Earlier when Daniel went up for his flip reset, he just held onto it, let it hit the ground, and bounced over Loreley. This time, Loreley tries to come out to stop him, and Daniel just flips it over him. So no matter what he's doing, Daniel has an answer, at least at the start of this game. The long shot from Daniel. Did he find the bottom corner of the post? He did not. And Loreley, he went up the top of his net, though I don't think he really needed to. Ended up getting an easy save as Daniel rolled it slowly at the net. But Loreley, he needs to find a way to get any sort of possession. Daniel, what a nice shot on this air roll. Loreley in position to make a save. He has the boost, but he just can't get up for that perfectly placed touch. 4-0. Halfway through the game, Daniel running it up here on his own servers. Loreley, his first offensive attempt, really, I feel like all game. Not super fruitful, as he can't quite get a Doomsday dish. But he will have possession again in his back corner. Has to come off the wall to make sure Daniel does not take this ball away, and almost got a dribble straight at the net. I think he was going to need to bump into Daniel a little bit if he was going to end up scoring that one, which was, not an unreasonable thing to suggest. Him and Daniel were right on top of each other, but nice play from Loreley to put this back post and go for the continuation. Daniel is in a really tough spot here in net. Did not get a nice landing, although he tried to land on every surface possible. And so he needed to get up and pre-jump to cover the majority of the net. Loreley instead putting it behind and off the post for continuation for a first. The ping situation is about 30 to 130 right now here on US East. Daniel, great use of the flip reset. Loreley, he hasn't found a way to defend it yet. And not a lot of people have. I think a lot of people have a tough time stopping Daniel from his madness. This time Loreley's going to fly from the ceiling and He just really could not afford to play reactionary defense, I think, is the reality of it. Loreley, even though he's trying to preempt the play by going high up off the ceiling, you could tell he kind of then decided to float and react to where Daniel's going with the ball. We've seen some players have success in stopping him, but I think you really have to bring, you know, the pressure to him as he starts those plays. Don't let him get into his zone and try and outplay you. You need to stop him before he ever has to think. But easier said than done. I'm sure if Loreley starts doing that, Daniel will start getting outplays even earlier. Daniel breaking up this possession as he booms this to the other side of the field. And Loreley just used up a lot of boost in an attempt to kill Daniel, so he's going to have to head back to the corner to reset. Daniel operating on not much, but a great flick. And it'll be pinched off the ceiling, not off the ceiling, off the post. Daniel, what was he doing there? That's one way to score on him. Daniel looking for some crazy double, triple, I don't know. Trying to fly around the ball like a madman. We've seen him do that before and make it work, but this time it's going to offer a free goal to Loreley. 44 seconds left to go and a 3-goal deficit to make up. Definitely possible as Daniel gets the flip reset midfield, and Loreley, see, he comes out to challenge this time. I don't really think that was one of the best of setups from Daniel. I think as far as pretty much every setup he's had so far this game, that was likely the worst, but even then, Loreley stopping him in his first aerial play, trying to set up a fake. You can see Loreley on the bounce was looking to go for a kind of mustier power shot fake because he had a really nice bounce for that, and Daniel just had stone nerves, did not worry about it, stayed on the ground, and ultimately that was perfect for what Loreley ended up doing with the fake. Double from Daniel, and he'll drop it in as the clock ticks down. 6-2 for Daniel in game number 1 here on US East. Daniel going up 6-2, or taking the game 6-2 as he goes up 1-0. Over on EU now, about a 40 ping advantage, 68 to 108. So a little bit more even here, but definitely still in favor of Loreley. We'll see if he can use the slight ping advantage to take a game win off Daniel. Something only Lion Blaze has been able to do so far. Bounce dribble from Daniel, the hook shot. You could tell he already had the pace and was ahead of Loreley. Loreley basically just had to hope for missed execution in this situation and did not get it. Daniel launches it right on net. Loreley aggressive on this kickoff after winning it slightly into Daniel's half, hoping for a nice pinch, but forcing it into the corner and not finding a way to get a shot attempt on. I think we've seen mostly counterattacks from Loreley. I want to say we saw 2 games from him in the last game, or sorry, 2 goals from him in the last game. Both of them, or at least one of them, coming off of an insane attempt by Daniel to a counterattack. Here is just a pretty good save. You know, it wasn't an unreasonable take by Daniel, but Loreley keeps it out and is able to hook the ground shot at the net before Daniel recovers. But Loreley will have to start creating a little bit of his own offense. It's not been a good strategy in the past for people playing Daniel to rely on him to make mistakes and counter, or to even, you know, try and just be a great defender against all of his attacks, because he's just too good. He's been able to handle that stuff on offense. You have to try and play him on defense. And Loreley will not get this save this time as he helps the Doomsy, chipping it off the back wall. Daniel will get the double. Look at that dunk setup. Perfect as he just hovers behind the ball. No interest in touching the ball himself. He knew Loreley was going to get a touch. He was just trying to set up to redirect the clear into the net. So we'll see. We'll see if Loreley on offense can take down Daniel. This is a nice fake. There's a second. I mean, he's got this game tied up, so he's doing just fine here in game number 2. A great kickoff win. Daniel trying to wave dash on the walls to come back, and Ultimately, the speed might have ended up hurting him because he got to the ball and realized Lorley hadn't made a touch, but he was going too fast and could not stay behind the ball and get a side flip to clear it away. So Daniel off the kickoff, setting up a flip reset so well. That was not the best of setups. And what I mean by not the best of setups is that ball was high off the wall, and he has to come out to meet it, but he has such a talent of getting the flip reset and kind of killing his car's momentum without destroying the aerial play. Like, I feel like that's such a hard setup normally for any other player, but Daniel sets it up easily and uses the musty to push it underneath Lorley. Another lead, but a small one. Daniel flick clear in the bottom corner. What a nice tap. Instead of heading out to reset on boost, just a slight touch to get Lorley off of his rhythm before going out to grab midfield. Lorley, nice undercut of Daniel. That's a good fake from Daniel. Lorley certainly wanted to take a shot attempt there, and I don't think Daniel had the boost to make any serious play on the ball, but you can see he drove up and pretended like he was going to go initiate some kind of dribble off that side wall, and that was enough to convince Lorley to not think it was worth it to go challenge. Lorley, nice shot. 3-3. Been playing much better on offense. He's had a lot of possessions. This time, just starving Daniel out. Daniel, honestly, looking a little bit panicky on defense. In that situation earlier when Lorley scored and Daniel came rushing by and flipped past it. This time, Daniel, a panic touch into the corner when Lorley wasn't really pressuring him that hard. Maybe Daniel was expecting that to roll up the side wall or kill a little bit more than it did, because it ended up coming into a shooting position. Nice setup from Lorley. 4-3. Lorley looking good. Has taken over possession and has been able to handle it well. Nice fake. Pulling the ball down into a great catch and a front flip for a 4-3 lead. Lorley looking good on the UU servers. Lorley, his power shot, he's trying to milk for a longer possession, but looks like Daniel is going to be able to clear it all the way out. What an angle from Daniel! Wow! Lorley thought he was clearing this away. Normally, it's a great idea to glue the ball to the wall and roll it up into the corner because it's hard to shoot. But apparently, Lorley set it up in the perfect spot for Daniel to chip it off and find the angle. Daniel going to tie it back up with a chip shot from the corner, 4-4. A couple minutes left to go. They've been killing the kickoffs a lot, and second 50s are really forced it. That's a great pre-jump by Daniel to cover the high angle, but an adjustment to make sure he doesn't let the ball sneak underneath. You see so many defenders have a really hard time making sure they don't give up the low play, like the low 50s or the low rolls underneath the pre-jumps. But Daniel, that's just a great dribble. Left to right, flicking it back behind the defender. I miss you guys. I miss chat. I wish I could look over to see what they're saying about the series. Lorley, shot from the wall, another assist from Daniel. Daniel's had a lot of errant touches like this. Ooh, I think he was buying himself some time. He might have been okay if he didn't land awkwardly on the wall. That wasn't the worst of pops, but it definitely was a setup for Lorley that normally you don't see out of Daniel. He's had a lot of different passes for Lorley goals. Not often in ones are people scoring, immediately off of a touch from the opposition, because these guys are so smart, so good at making sure they aren't setting up shooting opportunities for the opponents. Right now, not the case with Daniel. He just handed over a few. That setup was not great. Yeah, he's going to watch this ball get rolled in. A low dribble. He tried to flip reset it super low, which the risk of that seems really high. Maybe if he had succeeded, he would have gotten a really big pop. But one of the worst parts about that is the fact that your car is just not going to be able to recover from being upside down that low to the ground. Seems like a really high probability of what happening to Daniel happening, which is just flopping down upside down on the ground. Nice long shot. These guys not letting either one of them get a serious lead. Loreley, a bit of a mistouch. It seems like he might have pulled off of that intentionally because he did not want to pass it over into Daniel in the corner because Daniel was prepped for any sort of touch that Loreley was about to get. But whether intentional or not touching it was just as good of a pass. Daniel booms a power shot. Daniel playing the possession game off the kickoff. What a great catch. That seemed like a really awkward bouncing ball to catch into an air dribble. But he caught it and brought it up really, really well. The fake! Oh, man. It's crazy. We saw AJ doing this. I was just watching the DreamHack 1v1 last night. And AJ is another guy who does this a lot as well. Just, they're so lethal. They're so lethal with the flip resets and with everything they can do in the air that you have to prep for their shots. And half the time, they just end up not touching it and rolling it in, and you go flying around looking silly. But 7-6, a slight lead on a user. I mean, it never lasts long. Loreley has looked great in Daniel's half. If he can get the ball into these corners, especially off the kickoffs, he's been getting lots of outplays. I think when the game kind of slows down for Loreley, when it's not as open field and open space, where Daniel can kind of get into his rhythm. Nice. Wow, what a power the save through Daniel. In fact, he might have the long shot. I think he's going to get there. What a save from Loreley. The air dribble bump it connected. It doesn't get better than that. But Loreley just absolutely powered Daniel into the ball and survived through it and then got back out and beat Daniel back. Another kickoff win with 15 seconds left to go. This kickoff win needed to be Daniel's kickoff win, but it went in favor of Loreley. 9-7 with 11 seconds left to go. Looking like this game is going in favor of Loreley on EU servers. Loreley, another kickoff goal maybe? No, he can't get the angle online. But it'll not be enough time for Daniel to get this game back. He's going to hop out as we head back over to East. But Loreley will take game number 2, tie up the series, and be the second person to take a game off of Daniel in this Fear Fest. $140 versus 20 for Loreley. Loreley looking like he's going to play this one out. I think we got him 130 last time around. But game number 3, and Daniel versus Loreley. Back onto USC servers. Daniel with the full field flip reset dribble, but trying to make the outplay a little bit too late. So Loreley going to be able to get an easy save. Daniel using up a lot of boost here at midfield. You see players like Daniel who love to play the aerial game, want to turn almost everything into a nice aerial dribble, and a lot of the times it's very boost expensive, you know, instead of just killing the ball on your back half. But Daniel's a speed player. He wants to play with speed. He continued to play that possession with speed and got Loreley to miss when Loreley thought he was going to have an opportunity to challenge. And sometimes that's all you really need to do. We've definitely seen players who just need the pace quick, and they'll waste, I mean, it's hard to say waste, but they'll use a lot of boost around midfield to keep plays like that going that don't really seem like scoring attempts, but a lot of the times you can bait defenders who also seem to agree that that player's out of control, and they try and steal the ball away, and next thing you know, Daniel's got an open field and an open net, so he'll go up 1-0. Not going to be able to get back to this power shot, I don't think. Nice lob from Loreley. A good diagonal flip 50. Daniel goes flying by, and it was a nice recovery, but not good enough. Oh gosh, Daniel's been switching teams in the middle of the replay. So I think you gotta hand over this kickoff. Yeah, he will. You got a free kickoff from switching teams and being in the wrong position. So he's gonna give it to Loreley. And Loreley will go for an air dribble bump. Daniel saving it off the backboard. Air dribble of his own. One of these perfect setups, but actually a little high. Daniel takes it back down to the ground, and he pops it at Loreley. Loreley trying to get the pre-jump save, and it's just so hard. So hard to defend in these situations. Look at these fakes. I mean, he dropped the ball, but he's back right up to the ball within a moment, and he's threatening both a power shot or a musty or any sort of tap weight. Loreley cannot decide. And Daniel just adjusts, sees that Loreley is prepping for the power shot, instead dropping it underneath, and then ultimately able to get the touch. The double from Daniel on the kickoff. Daniel going to go up 3-1. Loreley actually was ahead of Daniel on the race to the boost there. He just could not win it out. He was slightly to the right. So he had a wave dash to set up his retreat and could not get back in time. Daniel, knowing to play the quick shot attempt in a situation where you're racing the defender for that midfield boost. I mean, those doubles are not going to work if Loreley right off the kickoff had head straight back to his corner. He would have been prepped to clear that ball off the back wall. So the only time you're really going to be able to get away with those quick shots and those quick doubles is when you've just won a race to the midfield boost and you know Loreley is starting from a much farther retreat. So great decision making from Daniel, and of course great execution as normal. Loreley, the ceiling reset, a flip reset right on the goal line. I wonder if he didn't get it. It seemed like it would have been perfect to use that last moment. He had Daniel hovering right behind the ball, which means, you know, a lot of separation on his flip reset. Likely could have got it past him, but either didn't get it or decided not to use it as he lobs this ball high. Daniel with a big whiff. Not very common to see from Daniel, but he'll let Loreley get a free second one. We'll see if we can, on the replay, see what happened here with Daniel. Nope, he's already going to be floating in the air, so. Loreley, dribble from the wall. Daniel clearing it off the post. We saw, I think it was Khaled. I can't remember who it was, but I swear I saw some defenders doing something that I hadn't seen really ever, which is intentionally saving balls off the post in order to get a nice angle on the bounce afterwards, which, you know, I guess if you're in a good enough situation, why not go for it? But it seems so risky. Daniel may be doing it intentionally there, maybe not, as he saves a nice touch. It seems like he was more just rushing to get the save. But in situations where players have a little bit more time than Daniel just did, we've seen people saving intentionally off the post, which is a crazy new meta. I at some point I'm going to see somebody own goal doing that, but not yet. Loreley, flip reset of his own as he gets a third against Daniel. A good wall to air dribble setup. A very, very rushed shot. What I mean by that is, normally those air dribble setups that we see people take is a much higher lob that isn't as like rushed to the net. But Loreley touched it really, really strong and had to fly fast to get back out to it and hit the flip reset. But the benefit of that is he caught Daniel in a retreating pattern, you know, hadn't fully made it back. And, dude, Daniel, wait a second, what's going on with Daniel? Daniel made a trip all the way out to midfield to grab this boost and leaving this net like wide open for Loreley. I guess he just had faith in himself to get back and make the save, but he's going to end up 50ing it. And Loreley forces it in to bring himself within one. Daniel should be scoring a kickoff goal here, though. 6-4. Minute 40 left to go. Another close one. I want to say game number one was, you know, pretty heavily in Daniel's favor. Something like 7 or 8-2, right? But ever since then, Loreley has been right in it. Even when we joined back here on US East, he has seemed to figure out his game strategy. And also, I think Daniel kind of fallen off a little bit. Daniel played so well in that first game, but we've actually seen some whiffs and some missed touches from Daniel, something we don't normally expect. But Loreley forcing it out of him. Loreley trying to get a dribble going. Daniel had a really close shot of the fence, but electing not to challenge. Instead, pull back off to midfield. Reset on boost. Didn't want to come all the way into the corner. And Loreley just a bounce dribble chip shot, and Daniel just took too long to make his challenge. So it's really a great setup from Loreley. But since Daniel was forced back into that direct shadow position instead of the angled one, because he had just gotten to the point where he's a little bit too close to the net, it was going to be really hard to save and get up to touch that ball away. But 6-5, Daniel still with the lead. Long clear from Loreley, and Daniel a missed touch on the back wall. Or maybe a fake, but I don't think so. I mean, it seems like He was trying to get a dribble going and just missed it. Still going to end up with something, as he's not going to win this race. He's not even going to try to. The double jump pop. He cannot take Loreley out of the net. And it'll be 6-6 with 30 seconds left to go. Loreley looking to take a 2-1 lead and go back to his EU servers to potentially finish off the series. Daniel himself also trying to go up 2-1, but he is not going to have the benefit of playing on his home server in the next game if he does lose. Loreley with a bounce dribble, trying to pop it high. Daniel needed to be very, very efficient with his boost on the save, and he does so, but the process of clearing it, he's had to use everything. Daniel has had a lot of mistakes here on Loreley's back line in the past few minutes where he's left Loreley open for a long clear and a goal, but it's not going to happen this time. 6-6 overtime in game number 3, a very crucial goal. Daniel winning the kickoff race to the boost. Loreley sticking with it, using his last little bit of boost. Oh my goodness, I was so surprised Loreley didn't go for a double here. Daniel's going to take the game, but it seemed like Loreley could have gone for a double. He went all in. He used up all his boost on that continuation, and Daniel made a read. I mean, credit to Daniel, because that seemed like an extremely dangerous situation where Loreley could get a double. It would have been an all-in play for him, but if he had, you know, banked on the fact that Daniel was going to not clear it away and assume that Loreley is leaving, then he could have gotten a 7th goal. But Daniel will take it. 2-1 lead for Daniel with as we head to game 3. Or sorry, game 4. Game 4, back on EU. A great performance from Loreley in game number 3. But ultimately, Daniel able to take it. Can Daniel end it here on EU servers? Or are we going to game 5? We'll have to see. Another air dribble from Daniel. And this time, the fake flip reset. Following it up on the bounce afterwards. And then just using the side flip. So we're going to see every variation of these air dribble setups from Daniel, it seems, in this series. So many different ways to score him. And Loreley has seemed, for the most part, to stop him from being able to just use it out of the air. He has had to let it drop and hit the ground. But it's very interesting, those setups, to make that play possible. You know, I want to say one of the biggest reasons why we don't see a lot of players doing that, or didn't see a lot of players doing that in the past, is it does take the perfect setup. You need to get a nice arc off the wall such that the ball's going to land kind of right outside the box and bounce back up fairly high, which is not an easy touch to get every single time, but these guys have found a way to make it always a possibility. For example, Loreley's, oh yeah, he's just doing his leave the team and come back. Another touch from Daniel that Loreley is able to force in. But what was I about to say? I forget. Something to do with air dribbles. Oh, Loreley's air dribble earlier when he had one, I think in game 2. You could tell that setup, that straight at the net setup, you know, there was no option to fake it and drop it to the ground because it would have been very, very easy to save had he let it do that. But maybe a better way to score the initial flip reset, because we haven't seen Daniel scoring too many of those. He's been having to play him on the bounce. But he's going to take another one to the ceiling, and he's got that one aimed to a good spot on the ground. But Loreley with the early challenge this time. He'll take it away. 2-2. I mean, that seems like the right play. Loreley hasn't been able to get really any saves when he lets Daniel bring that all the way to the ground or anywhere close to the net. So why not risk a super high challenge? Might be able to catch him off guard, and he did. Daniel having the ball taken from him on a nice backflip. Another great 50 in the corner. Loreley. That was tough. He had to get the perfect touch on the wall to make sure he could get a doomsy, but any softer, Daniel probably would have had an easier time saving it away. Loreley, some open field, and once again, not taking a bounce off the back wall. We saw that from Loreley earlier. He's going to end up scoring anyways. But these situations feel like they're worth a little 50, maybe just a hard read, because it looked like it was about to go off the post. Daniel takes a trip away from the ball and cannot get back in time. 3-2, Loreley a lead once again on EU servers. The bounce dribble, lost it, and Daniel, the power shot all the way down the field. 3-3 for Daniel. Oh, sorry, for Daniel. For both these guys. But Daniel scoring to tie it up. Loreley, air dribble for preset. That's a great position. That was exactly what we're talking about. That's a perfect spot to let the ball drop to the ground, where Daniel is forced to watch. Loreley can use the flip reset, or he can take it back down to the ground. He can go for wave dash. He can let it bounce back up and go for that air roll shot we saw Daniel do earlier. But you love to see Loreley getting involved in the aerial game. Not the way he's been scoring for the most part, but obviously capable of doing so. I think the difference between a lot of these other guys who can, of course, hit these shots is Daniel's just going to let Loreley take this one. Not impressed with his own power shot and doesn't even want to try and retreat to save it. But one of the differences between, you know, some of the top guys with the flip reset plays and basically everyone else at the high level is they can just create the setups for them more often, I think. You'll find that some of the other guys will need the perfectly clean setup off a kickoff, because you'll see a lot of kickoffs that are won right to the side wall that are really easy to chip and set up. And that's where you'll see most of anybody go for their air dribble flip reset type plays. But the Evos, AJs, Daniels, Jorias of the world, they can all pretty much create it out of almost any setup. Daniel shipping this one in front of the net and actually getting away with getting scored on. It seemed like he was almost letting Loreley take the ball, but the ball, too much speed towards the back wall. Loreley couldn't get around it and shoot it in time. Daniel, a nice catch, going for the air dribble bump. Can he Goomba stop Loreley on the back wall? He cannot, but the continuation will get him a fourth. I am going to tab out here real quick. Two minutes left to go. A one-goal lead for Loreley, trying to force Game 5 and a trip back to USC servers. Daniel certainly trying to end it here and not bring it all down to one game. Daniel, his flip reset. Challenged early by Loreley, and it works once again. Daniel has been very, very patient in his goal. We've seen so many bounces off the back wall, above the backboard, and Daniel does not get up for the continuation. He just banks on the fact that Loreley will not be trying to go for a double, which is fairly risky. I mean, oh, nice shot from Daniel. The full field flip reset. He had Loreley right underneath him, and so he races it to the net before Loreley can get there. Oh, that's beautiful. But as I was saying, I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing Loreley try and, you know, greed out a couple of double touches just by the fact that Daniel's being so stagnant in his net when they're being threatened. Daniel, another air dribble. This time the air dribble bump will work. Loreley cannot power it through. We saw him a couple games ago in this same situation somehow push Daniel into the ball and back out, but not this time. Too much momentum for Daniel. 6-5 with a minute left to go. Loreley a kickoff win. Trying to force it in front of the net as soon as possible. Daniel off the backboard. This time, making a little bit more sense that he doesn't go for the ball. Loreley nowhere in the realm of being able to double this one. But a high lob. Daniel, a quick camera check. He wanted to see if Loreley was leaving and if he needed to go early to take it away from him. But he then went right back to ball cam, and I think he got surprised that Loreley was coming back in. He thought he had made the read that Daniel was leaving. He wasn't going to have to worry about the 50. But he was wrong. Loreley coming back in. A nice kickoff win directly into the net. We've only seen Loreley getting these. I feel like he got him in a clutch one. Oh, he iced the game. He iced game number 2 the same way. He had a one-goal lead. It was coming into the end of the game. He needed a kickoff, or Daniel needed a kickoff, that is. And instead, Loreley iced it with a kickoff straight into Daniel's net. 7-6 with 40 seconds left to go. Loreley, the power shot sent high off the crossbar, or right underneath the crossbar. Daniel lobbing this one up into a bounce, trying to make Loreley make a decision on defense, and he did. He tapped it away to the midfield, but he is trying to stay on top of Daniel. The first save is not going to be there for the second. Loreley, the aggressive defense at the end of this game, in a situation where he needed to prevent Daniel from getting one, and despite having barely more than a pad's worth of boost at midfield, he stays on top of the ball. He knows giving Daniel space would be the mistake, and instead able to keep the pressure up and even send it up to, not 2-0, but 2 goal edge in his favor. Daniel, will he get one more? It's not going to matter. Game 5, Daniel versus Loreley, as we head back to US East to see which one of these two guys moves to the semifinals of the Fear Fest. Daniel versus Loreley, Game 5. Loreley on 140. Seems like he's going to take it. We've indicated to him that the way to not take it is to leave on the kickoff and or leave immediately, like within 10 seconds. But he's going to play this one out, definitely after getting a 1-0 lead. Daniel back in the Octane for Game 5. We've seen him swapping back and forth. In fact, I think we see Loreley swapping over to the Fennec, even though he had been playing in the Octane, I'm pretty sure. These guys are mixing it up. Daniel starting down 1-0, maybe, nope, not quite 2-0, as that one's off the post. Loreley staying super, super deep right now. He's got to be low on boost, right? But a couple good challenges. This pinch from Daniel, oh my goodness. The crossbar and down. That was almost one of the most insane pinches we've seen. That was so, so powered. Oh, the Goomba Stomp! I don't know if Daniel was going for this on purpose, but a high chip and the ball flying at net. Did Daniel see where Loreley was, or was he just trying to get back down to make the next play? It doesn't matter, but he'll stomp onto Loreley, and Loreley can't get there. (1-1), Loreley from the ceiling. Daniel takes it away. Should be an open net for a second, and it will be. Loreley just setting up the dribble off the wall, or the setup off the wall, a little bit too close to the net. So by the time he got back to it, Daniel able to take it away. Daniel kick up possession, looking for a huge hook shot, or just looking to steal that back corner boost. I thought for a second he was trying to just get a really insane angle, but ultimately never pulling the trigger on the shot. Instead, just grabbing the backfield boost. Did he get an outplay at midfield? Loreley has elected to play defense at this midfield and just stay right on top of Daniel at all times. He was having trouble in the midfield earlier, kind of in the midfield situations, because I think he was retreating, giving Daniel that space, and then Daniel making a play. But now he's definitely changed his style. He's willing to risk staying on top of Daniel with very little boost, if that prevents him from getting anything going. This is a huge difference as the series goes on in terms of possession from that first game that we saw. At the start of the series, Daniel was just holding onto the ball the entire time. Loreley was playing reactive to everything he was doing. Ever since then, it's been a very even matchup. Loreley not letting Daniel control the pace. Loreley at midfield, Daniel the fake challenge, and that was actually enough to get Loreley to think about it for a half second. And it's kind of interesting how important those little fake challenges are. If Daniel doesn't, you know, even for a half moment, pretend like he's going to the ball, Loreley will roll into that possession very confidently and set up, you know, exactly what he wants. Instead, you can see Loreley hesitate slightly, thinking, oh wait, do I need a challenge? And then by the time the ball bounces, it's in an awkward enough position. So slight little details like that are so important. Why you can't just afford to wait in net. You do have to pressure and stay moving and give at least the impression that you're coming to challenge early, even if you don't plan on it. Loreley the catch, and the shot is strong, but Daniel saving it away. And he's going to use the speed of that ball to counter it. Wow, what a save and a counter from Daniel. Loreley, you can't blame him for shooting it strong, but Daniel saving it while maintaining the ball's momentum perfectly. It means even though he has very little boost, he just needs one more touch to speed it back down the other side of the field. 3-1. So far, every game has been won by the player on their home server. Daniel, a nice fake. Looking to set up, I think, an early air roll shot, maybe even a dribble, but realizing Loralee is defending high on the wall and that there's no reason to take it to him early. Just power shot it to the far post. 4-1. A bit of a lead for Daniel. Loralee resetting on this boost at midfield. I like the immediate turn to the ball. A great ceiling reset. Couldn't get back to it, but he's going to use the benefit of the bounce. And Daniel able to save it away. Daniel with some open field. Loralee, nice save. He'll just take Daniel out of the play. He knew he couldn't get back to the ball, but he got back just in time to Daniel. The bounce dribble hook shot sent away. Daniel drifting down the field, and he will die. So open field for Loralee. What will he go to when he can do whatever he wants? Looks like he's going to rush to the net for a hook shot. Loralee passed to himself and a shot on net. I love this decision making from Loralee. He knew he had Daniel at low boost at midfield. So what does he want? He wants a shot fast. And so a good way to set that up is to pass it immediately horizontal off the wall to yourself to give yourself an opportunity for a power shot on net. Likely the fastest way to get it there in his position, and exposing Daniel for not prioritizing returning to the net as he swung out wide for a midfield boost. 4-2. Loralee with 45 seconds to get two back. He decided not to go on this one. These aren't mind games, but this is the mind games of ones. Loralee thought he was going to come out here. He thought he had scared Daniel. He saw a lot of fake challenges from Daniel earlier in the series. Maybe thought Daniel was going to play safer up 2 here late into the game. So he thought he could just get Daniel to fake off of it and then grab a dribble. But the downside of being confident in that is he's nowhere to be found in terms of stopping Daniel's power shot. So 5-2. Loralee, the musty on the goal line, is not going to work. And Daniel needing to find a way to get this ball to the net off the wall, and he actually did, but Loralee's going to get the save and probably the counter. Oh, he couldn't get a quick touch. Didn't have the boost to do so. And that is likely it. I think Loralee needed a score on that possession to leave there a possibility. So Daniel, he will get a flip reset, musty. Loralee will throw out the GGs. Daniel will take it in 5, but a close series, every game being taken by the player on their home server. 6-2. These guys will hop out of the match. What a game. Wow, our first one pre-recorded. Hopefully the Twitch premiere went great and you guys are enjoying it. But I'll see you later. Daniel will move on, and the rest of the Fear Fest will continue who knows when.